I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge of the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have a couple absentees tonight. Mr. Louis George is excused, and so is Mr. Steve Recall. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of July 3rd? Second. Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Financial report and payment of bills. We have a motion to approve the financial report.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Let's see, well, I really can't ask my question. So no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, we have a couple budget amendments this evening. First budget amendment, 2019-11. We had, out of the anticipated fund balance, we're going to $172,000, and we're going to apply it as a credit to the waste removal contract and the landfill fees. So this budget amendment number 2019-11 is to amend the original budget for increased contracted services and landfill fees for waste removal. We have a motion to approve this budget amendment.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the budget amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. The second and hopefully the last budget amendment for fiscal year 2019. This is to amend the original budget by the overexpended account funded by the highway user revenue. So we're going to credit out of fund balance $103,076, and we applied it toward DPW for street repaving. We have a motion to approve budget amendment 2019-12.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on this budget amendment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Gene Minner, would you like to take the next step on the request by Jason Allison, representing Cecil County Government, to rezone property located at 2005 Booth Street, corner of Booth and Bethel Streets, tax map 0311, parcel 1841, consisting of .43 acres from R3 urban residential to C1 central business district. This is not a public hearing for this, or is it?
Yes.
It is. Okay, so
Actually, if you'd like, you could invite Jason.
I will. Come on down. I wasn't sure. I saw the next one was a public hearing, but I wasn't sure this one was. So this public hearing is going to start 1 minute earlier than on the schedule. So we're going to start this public hearing at 7:04. Gene, do you want to read in you want them to make their presentation?
And then I'll do the findings of fact.
Very good. Jason, if you could make your presentation, state your names for the board.
Thank you. Jason Allison, County Attorney on behalf of Cecil County, Maryland, who is the applicant here, and to my right is Eric S. Senstrom, the Director of Land Use and Development Services for Cecil County, Maryland. If it please the Mayor and the Commissioners tonight, this is an application for rezoning tax map 311, parcel 1841, 0.43 acres on Blue Street at the corner of Blue Street and Bethel. And here in Elkton, I believe the address is 205.
Yes.
Booth Street. It's presently zoned urban residential. Its existing use is a warehouse by Cecil County government. The proposed use would remain at this point commercial/governmental. There has not, to our knowledge, been a previous zoning change on this property. We're before you tonight requesting that the subject property be rezoned from urban residential to central business district, or C1, based on a mistake in the current zoning classification. And just by way of background, the Town of Elkton's zoning ordinance states that the purpose of the C1 district is to provide appropriate locations for for select commercial activities. Provision is made in the C1 district for accommodation of a wide range of business pursuits, retail sales, and office and service activities which serve the needs of citizens of the area. The C1 district is designed to preserve and to encourage the continued development as well as the redevelopment of small-scale commercial uses near the town center zone consistent with the unique land use mix which currently exists. Generally, the C1 district covers certain areas close to the historic commercial center of the town. The parcel at issue here is in an area that would qualify for C1 zoning. And as such, the C1 district is intended for the conduct of general business to which the public requires direct and frequent access, but which is not characterized either by constant heavy trucking other than stocking and delivery of light retail goods or by any nuisance factors other than associated by incidental light and noise of congregation of people and passenger vehicles. This district also provides for some residential uses. Of interest to our application, the county's use is consistent with the uses permitted in the C1 district. The county's use is governmental / small-scale storage of county property, and this use requires frequent access, does not generally include heavy trucking or other nuisance factors. In fact, the historic use of this property, which has been continued by the county, has little or no nuisance factors at all and blends harmoniously with existing business, governmental, and residential uses on and about neighboring properties. Of note, the use of this property as a maintenance facility / warehouse / garage by Cecil County Public Schools and more recently as a warehouse by Cecil County government has been continuous and unchanged since at least 1947. So this particular type of use goes back decades and has been unchanged, which is where our contention that there's a mistake in the original zoning is triggered. The parcel is in an area designated for C1, as I mentioned earlier, and C1 zoning most closely matches the long-standing historical use of this parcel. In light of these facts, it's the county's position that it was a mistake to designate this property urban residential. The property has never been used for residential purposes, and its historic and current uses are most closely aligned with commercial / governmental use permitted in the C1 district. In conclusion, I'd note that there is C1 zoning and also town center zoning adjacent to this property and in the immediate vicinity. There's also some residential property. For example, Upper Bay Counseling is across Booth Street from the location of this parcel. In any event, accordingly and for all of these reasons, Cecil County, Maryland respectfully requests that the mayor and commissioners find that it was a mistake to zone this parcel urban residential and that you approve the county's request to rezone this property C1. And Mr. Senstrom and I would be pleased to answer any questions that you may have in respect to this application.
Thank you. Gene, can you read the Planning Commission's findings for us first?
Sure. The Elkton Planning Commission, at their regular meeting on July 15th, heard the request of Mr. Jason Allison, representing Cecil County, Maryland, in their request to rezone property located at tax map 311, parcel 1841, from R3 urban residential to C1 central business district. The Elkton Planning Commission recommends approval of rezoning this property to C1 based on the following findings of fact. Population change. There's been no significant increase in population in the neighborhood since the last comprehensive rezoning in 2013. Availability of public facilities. Public facilities, including water and sewer, are available to serve the site. Present and future transportation patterns. This property is located on the west side of Booth Street and north of Bethel Street. There are no known plans to change this transportation pattern. Compatibility with existing and proposed development in the area. Adjacent properties to the northwest and south are zoned R3, urban residential, and include residential development, a church, and the Cecil County Public Schools Central Office. The property to the northeast of the site is zoned C1, Central Business District, and is the location of the Upper Bay Counseling and Support Services offices. The properties directly to the east are zoned R2, suburban residential, and include residential development. Parcel 1841 is owned by Cecil County and was formerly part of a larger parcel that included Cecil County Public School, the George Washington Carver School. Schools in the past were permitted by right in residential zones. Elkton's current zoning ordinance permits schools in residential zones by special exception. The former school building is currently owned by the Cecil County Public Schools Central Office. The parcel for decades was used as a maintenance facility, warehouse, and garage. The building is still being utilized as a warehouse by the Cecil County Public Schools. The existing R3 zoning is not compatible with the current use, nor with the existing structure and site improvements. The proposed C1 zoning is compatible with existing and proposed development in the area. Relationship of the proposed development to the Town of Elkton Comprehensive Plan in describing the urban residential district, which is the current zoning. It includes higher density residential areas in the town. The town seeks to provide areas in town that are appropriate for development and urban densities, excuse me, that support a full range of housing types. They also encourage the development of new residential areas that function as neighborhoods and have a unified design. Now, with respect to the central business district, the C1 zoning, the comprehensive plan states that this is the center of commerce in Elkton. It's described as bounded by the Amtrak line, Bridge Street, Howard Street, and Booth Street. It contains a mix of public uses, as well as business, service, and commercial establishments that make up a significant portion of the local economy. The Central Business District recognizes the role of downtown Elkton in the town's economy as it continues to provide a compatible mix of commercial, cultural, institutional, governmental, and residential uses in a compact, pedestrian-oriented, traditional town center that serves as a focal point for the surrounding residential areas. Commercial and industrial uses are intermixed with older residential buildings to reinforce the town's traditional urban fabric. There's applicable language in the comprehensive plan that speaks to protecting existing residential neighborhoods from negative impacts of adjacent non-residential development by requiring landscaping, and maintain a clear distinction and buffer between the central business district and the residential uses, and also to establish and expand mixed uses in the area of town, to encourage a mix of residential, commercial, employment uses, and to maintain and enhance the central business district as a center of governmental, professional, and mercantile activities in the town, to encourage development and redevelopment in the central business district, with the, consistent with the downtown master plan, and to attract non-residential land uses that bring tourism and entertainment to the downtown. Suitability of the property in question to the uses permitted under the existing and proposed zoning classifications. The property in question is suitable for the uses permitted under the existing and proposed zoning classifications. Recommendation for approval and denial, or denial. The Elkton Planning Commission recommended approval of the proposed rezoning from R3 urban residential to C1 central business district. Substantial change in the character of the neighborhood. There were no findings of substantial change in the character of the neighborhood. Mistake in the existing zoning classification. The applicant provides clear evidence of mistake in the original zoning of the subject property. The Elkton Planning Commission found evidence of mistake and recommended approval of this rezoning request.
I want to apologize to you. I should have had you sit down with me.
I can do that for the next one.
Okay, perfect. That would be fine. You have a seat. Anyone from the board have any questions or comments about that parcel?
I did, but I think she answered it all in that report. So it's definitely adjacent to C1.
The, it's right
Okay.
catty corner, but it's adjacent to
We'll call, or
C1.
is it adjacent? It's adjacent, okay. And it falls within the central business district.
Yes.
Okay. That was my two questions.
Well, it is a public hearing. If anyone out in the audience has anything to say for or against, or has a question, please raise your hand and stand up and give your name and address. Seeing none, this public hearing is closed.
Thank you for your time.
It is 7:15. Do we have a motion to approve the request of the rezoning of the property at 205 Booth Street, corner of Booth and Bethel Street, tax map parcel 1841, which consists of .43 from R3 to C1 central business?
So moved.
So we got a motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries. Okay, it is now 7:15, and we have our second public hearing. I'd like to public hearing on ordinance 4-2019, medical offices in the town zone, presented for introduction. Who's making the presentation?
You have the draft regulations before you. I didn't know if Mr. Jones wanted to make any comments prior to
I
the
would-
recommendation.
I would say, why don't you go ahead, you have it there to read it?
I can read the changes, yep.
Or do you want me to
So-
do it? I'm happy to do it.
It's your call, Mayor.
You got it.
Okay.
Tell us what the changes are.
So, an ordinance concerning Elton zoning ordinance, Article 10, permissible uses, and Article 12, supplementary use regulations. For the purpose of amending the Elton zoning ordinance, Article 10, permissible uses, Section 3.130, permissible uses table, and Article 12, supplementary use regulations to regulate primary offices of physicians. Whereas Article 11E, Constitution of the State of Maryland, Section 4-103B3, Subtitle 1, Title 4, Division 2. Now I know why you wanted me to read this. The Local Government Article, Annotated Code of Maryland, Land Use Article, Annotated Code of Maryland, and the Charter and Code of the Town of Elton provide the authority under which the mayor and commissioners may adopt, repeal, and/or amend the ordinances of the Town of Elton, and whereas the mayor and commissioners adopted the Elton zoning ordinance on November 26, 2013, amended from time to time thereafter, and whereas the Elton Planning Commission proposed and recommended the hereafter stated amendments to the Elton zoning ordinance related to physicians' offices following their public hearing held on July 15, 2019. Said public hearing held in conformance with the requirements of the Elton zoning ordinance, Article 19 amendments. Now therefore, the mayor and commissioners of the town of Elton hereby ordain that Section 1, the Elton zoning ordinance, Article 10, permissible uses, Section 7, permissible uses table, and Article 12, supplementary use regulations shall be amended and read as follows. Elton zoning ordinance, Article 10, permissible uses, Section 7, permissible uses table. Subsection 3.000, office, clerical, research, and services not primarily related to the sale of goods or merchandise. 3.1 through 3.120, no change to those sections. The changes occur in 3.130, primary offices of physicians with up to 3 professionals seeing patients, including nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, permitted by special exception in the C1, C2, C3, and BI zoning districts. That's the existing language. The new language will include, and by special, existing primary offices of physicians in the town center zone may relocate by special exception with conditions in the TC Town Center zoning district. See Article 12, Section 33. And 3.140, primary offices of physicians with 4 or more professionals seeing patients, including nurse practitioners and physician assistants, permitted by special exception in the C2, C3, and BI zoning districts. And the new language will read, existing primary offices of physicians and in the TC zone may relocate by special exception with conditions in the TC zoning district. See Article 12, Section 33. And then under Article 12, supplementary use regulations, there'll be additional language, which are the conditions that this is referring to, for the new language for the TC zoning district. An existing primary office of physicians in the TC zone with 3 or 4 or more professionals seeing patients, including nurse practitioners and physician's assistants, may relocate one time within the TC zone to a space within a building below or above the street level, its main street level, with the condition that the practice is within the same specialty and the number of professionals remains within the same classification. The Elton Planning Commission held the public hearing on July 15th and recommended approval of the proposed amendments with the additional language that you see in the memorandum, which was to clarify that it's only in the town center zone, it's only existing positions that may move one time. No new offices can locate in the town center zone. This
Very
is a
good.
modification of an older ordinance that has been on the books for years, so.
And this is a ordinance being presented for introduction purposes only. This is a public hearing. Does anyone want to speak for or against? Mr. Bob Jones?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I would just ask my witnesses to come up and sit here and introduce themselves. It's my understanding that the mayor and council have reviewed the presentation we made at the planning commission. So I would just ask the gentlemen who are here, Mary Beth is also here too. In case there are any questions, I'm just having them come up.
Very good.
So if each of you would just state your name and position. The mayor and council have seen the presentation and your testimony before. We're here to answer any questions they may have.
Very good. Thank you for seeing us this evening. My name is Tim Dewson. I'm president of Dewson Construction Company and also part owner of Elktown Center.
Doctor?
Dr. Mark Zwiebin. I am a partner in the Delaware Cardiovascular Associates practice that is the subject of this hearing.
I'm Mary Beth Snowdowski Cole, Regional Vice President of Med Options, and I'm here today as a citizen.
I would just have one question of Doctor to clarify his practice, so there is no question of what the practice is for the council. Then I would have a few comments. Doctor, could you just summarize your practice, and if in fact the ordinance is approved and you move into this location that Mr. Dewson owns, what will the continued character of your practice be? Is there going to be any transition into other areas? Could you just summarize that for the commissioners?
We have always been and will continue to be a single practice cardiology practice. We do not have any other types of positions in our practice, and if we invite any other physician extenders such as nurse practitioners or physician assistants, they will only practice cardiology. We do not branch out into any other types of.
And Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I would just say, since we met with you last time, there's been a game changer, and that is Christiana Care coming in and hopefully successfully merging with Union Hospital. That is going to create a whole new dynamic for the medical industry and business, not only in your town, but as well in the town center zone. We feel that this change, you are acknowledging the flexibility that you need to have to properly support the medical industry, and I'm sure that process will continue. We just encourage you to approve this. And the ladies and gentlemen are here to answer any questions that you may have about what we do and our prior testimony. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone from the board have any questions or comments?
Just one. It's probably a silly question, but you know what they say about silly questions.
No such thing.
You're allowed to move one time within the TC. If you do move, your practice would remain the same. There would be no changes, wouldn't be a different practice.
No, would not be a different practice at all.
Right. Just want to be clear.
Yeah, it will remain the same.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments for or against? If you do, please stand up, please, there, Mr. Lemon. State your name and address, if you would.
Richard Lemon, 103 Walnut Lane, Elkin, Maryland. I was, excuse me. Beautiful, nice hair. Anyway, I was at the original meeting when this was presented, and I came away with the idea that one of the ideas of the original, of course, the original thing was to get rid of methadone clinics or whatever, but the other idea is to keep Main Street open for retail business and that type of thing to help in the development of downtown Elton. So that's the theme that I saw. Fortunately, I read the Cecil Whig this morning, and all this was in the Cecil Whig, so I have a couple questions. Number one is the town center. It's clear that this will apply to the town center. Does this apply to other areas of Main Street? This change?
Town center.
Town center zone is pretty broad in the downtown area.
What was the answer?
The town center zone is pretty broad in the downtown area. It includes Union Hospital.
So it includes more of...
Currently includes Union Hospital. It's a broad area.
Well, Union Hospital is what it is, but I mean...
Right.
So other offices could open up on Main Street.
Within the town center zone, an existing doctor's office may move one time within the town center zone.
What's the town
No
center?
new-
What's the town center?
It's the
doing?
downtown area. It's basically from, I think not Booth Street, maybe South Street to, maybe just the other side of Bridge Street, and then from Howard Street up to the railroad tracks.
Okay, big concern. So that's my concern. I'm not opposed necessarily to what's happening here in the town center. I have questions about the total thing as far as it affects the growth of downtown retail business and the theme that you guys have been working on for a long time and done a good job on. So that's number one. Number two is I see where you can, if you have an established office, you can apply for this and move to an area in the, let's say, the business center again. I don't see a bracket on there as to time. It seems to me that you should have an office established for 2 or 3 years before you're allowed to do that, so that you don't set up an office 1 month and the next month come to the town and say we want to move the office over. So I'm not saying that's going to happen, but stranger things have happened. So I'm suggesting that in this ruling, whatever it is, number 5, C, 3.8, whatever it is, that you apply a time frame to say that a medical practice has to be established 2 years or 3 years, something like that, before it can make this application. So you don't have fly-by-nights coming in and doing it. That's just an opinion. Now, the other thing is that came to mind, as I say, I sat through this whole hearing, is that referencing you guys, you were very amenable to people coming in the back of the building to the medical practice. And I haven't seen anything in the article about that, but the idea at that time was that we won't have cars out front and all this kind of stuff, that our entrance will be in the back off that parking lot out there, and that's the way. And I don't see anything in all this write-up in the paper and everything about that. So that's another question I have, is how that's going to be, is that going to be addressed or not? I think that was, I say this group was amenable to that, but I think that needs to be addressed. And that's it.
Very good.
Lovely hair.
Thank you, Mr. Lemon. Mr. Hare.
Mr. Hare, 142 West Main Street. I think this is a great idea to get real doctors. Now, we don't want to keep drug doctors we got in the county. We stuff them around in the middle of the yard, or what name it, that used to hang out at the old Walmart. But getting real doctors, we need more real doctors in this area, particularly as the attorney said, that joining Christian Hospital is going to be, we got a doctor shortage here. And I used to be on the doctor, the Union Hospital board. There is a shortage of doctors. It is well written in that article today, but I'm all for it. I think it's a great idea to have real doctors.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say? Hearing none, this public hearing is adjourned at 7:29 and a half. How's that?
Thank you all for your.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to approve public hearing ordinance 4-2019 medical offices in town zone, and this is being presented for introduction only?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. So it's been introduced for introduction. Okay. Michelle, you're on. Project number 2019-002, road restoration bid opening.
And Dan's here to answer any questions that you may have. We received 3 bids for this project.
Yep.
In front of you is a bid form if you wanted to select for your own reference.
Thank you.
The first bid was received from Dix Hollow Contracting Incorporated. Dix Hollow bid $751.62.
Give that to me.
$609,000.
Yep.
$751.62.
Okay.
The second bid was received from ECM Corporation. The bid is $693,527. $693,527. And the third bid that was received from Meadows Construction. Meadows Construction bid $611,984.50. $611,984. I beg your pardon, 50 cents.
Dan, what was our engineering estimate on this?
The numbers were much less than the estimate. We were estimating about 680,000.
Very good. Okay, do we have a motion to accept the low bidder, which would be Dix Hollow Contracting, $609,751.62, and contingent upon them meeting all the engineering approvals.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Very good.
Good to see you. Thank you very much.
All right. Anything else, Michelle?
That's it.
All right. Real quickly, I have nothing new to report this week. Jean, do you have anything this evening?
Just a couple things. First of all, I want to say congratulations to Commissioner Massimiano.
Woo!
He recently went to a convention in New Mexico.
Last week.
Yeah, and I found out that he was voted in as the new president of the Alliance of Professional Tattooists for the entire country. So, pretty big honor, so congratulations, Ron.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Now we've got to figure out how you're going to host that in Elton.
I'm working on it. Yeah, I've already put feelers out.
There you go. The only other thing I have is, you know, when Mary Jo was with us, we were kept abreast of just about everything that was going on through the Alliance. And since she's been gone, we really haven't had any feedback from them. I feel like I would really appreciate if maybe the new director could come in periodically and give us just an update of what's going on through the business district. I mean, I know we have what's happening come to us for downtown, but I'm more interested in what's going on with the entire business district, especially because I feel as though we should be reaching out a little bit more just beyond Main Street. But, you know, if you agree with that, I would personally appreciate some sort of report, you know, periodically.
Very good. Michelle, could you reach out and see if they could attend one of our meetings? Thank you.
Oh, that's easy.
Easy.
That was easy, yeah. And the only other thing was, have we had any inquiries on the purchase of that lot on Hollingsworth at all, that we know of?
Yes.
Sold.
Oh, it's sold, see? I did not know that.
It's happening kind of quick.
Huh?
And John Downs made it happen.
It is sold. If you could just send me the information, I'd like to hear more about it. Or tell me.
Contracts right over here.
Okay. All right, that's all I have. Thank you.
You're gonna put a high rise on.
Commissioner?
Gene, you brought up a very good point in Mary Jo's absence. You think about it, she did keep us abreast of all the occurrences, both in town and outwardly. So again, Michelle has the assignment to move that forward. One other thing I'd like to add is I thought the fireworks went well, and Rob, I thought that was a good idea of providing, of course, Dan, the spectators downtown, because after the fireworks were over, I was going downtown, but you can see the outlets that all the traffic had in getting out of town. It was done quickly, so that's a good idea on your part.
Thank you, sir.
thought he was talking about me.
He said, good idea.
Oh, there you go.
And the chief too, we made things maybe a little bit easier for them because you didn't have that same amount of traffic out there, but everything was good that night.
Yeah, it was good. In fact, it was a larger crowd than we've had in a couple of years, I believe.
Out to the park?
Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Truman did well, so I guess you wear the honors for that.
Yes. Well, thanks.
Thanks, that's it.
And quite frankly, I watched the fireworks from the rear, from Howard Street this year. It's the first time I ever watched them off of Howard, and they were amazing. They were absolutely amazing. The fireworks folks did a wonderful job, which they always do. Commissioner?
Is that, two things I had, for the basketball camp went well. We only had 1 week of it. Second week didn't have maybe 2 or 3 players sign up. Well, anyway, it still turned out real good. And then, special thanks from, Solomon Harris, myself and Commissioner Gibbons. We, visited during the day of their, dedication to Chris Harris. And they told me to make sure that I thank the board and thank the mayor for all they've done to help them make that day possible. That's it.
Very good.
Very good.
Commissioner?
To tack on to the parking lot fireworks display, I think I'd like to try that again next year, only this time maybe have Jack Foraker set up in the corner to draw and keep a larger crowd in that parking lot, further taking the stress off of Meadow. The other thing is that it has recently come to my attention that the town of Elkton itself is not a part of the Cecil County Chamber of Commerce. I understand that through the Elkton Alliance, we have sort of an honorary membership, but I would like us to discuss becoming a full-fledged member of the Cecil County Chamber of Commerce.
Rob had actually reached out to me, and I had met with the Chamber of Commerce a couple of years ago, and we did join. We joined, I think it was 3 years ago, and after we paid our dues, we found out that we kind of had that honorary membership through the Alliance, but it really doesn't count that way. But that's the way that, once again, Mary Jo really felt that we didn't have to pay it. I kind of agree with Rob. I've sat with them, and if we want to participate, we probably should participate. So I'm on board with becoming a member again. If the board would like to think about it, and we'll make a decision for
What
next.
does it do?
Well,
Just paying a yearly fee?
it is. That's what.
Oh.
I don't know the exact amount, but I think.
It's right around $1,000.
So give it some thought, and let's make a decision at the next meeting. You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm all right with it. Anything else?
No.
All right. This is the time of the meeting. We open up the floor for the public. If you have anything to say, please let us know. Dave Forsythe, come on down, state your name and address.
Sure thing.
Sign in?
Yes, please.
Dave Fordyce, 115 Osage Street in Elkton. Let me just- It's good to see folks again. I apologize I haven't been here. I do have a competing commitment on Wednesday nights, so I'll try and make it more often than I have in the past. I miss serving on the Planning Commission. It's always good to know what's going on. I've been here in Elkton since 2005. So even though I wasn't born here, I am Elkton. And I live on Osage and intersect with Mackle, and we have seen a dramatic increase in traffic, in people, in intoxicated people, drug use, people sleeping on the porch of the house across the street from me, people passed out on the concrete pony wall right outside my front porch. I've talked to the chief about it. He's agreed to bring this in front of the street crime unit, which I appreciate. I'm here to work with you guys, but I do have some questions with respect to that yellow house that is Dr. Shu property. I don't know what the current state of the ordinance is. The version I have is probably old at this point, so I don't know how to get a new copy. I know that there was talk about how to deal with abandoned properties, and I think that I would sure like to know. It's an attractant to undesirable behavior. We have people breaking in over there. I have pictures on my phone of the garbage and the people sleeping on the front porch. And, you know, this is a bit of a rhetorical question, but why do I have to live this way? You know, pay my taxes, go to work every day. I am pleading with you folks to please work with me in trying to do something about this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gene, can you make sure that Dave gets a updated copy of the nuisance, or Michelle? Make sure he gets a copy of the updated nuisance. And Chief, you're on it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else have anything to say this evening? Mr. Lemon?
I agree with this gentleman. You did a great job of cleaning up the homeless situation, but apparently it's not a job complete. And so that needs to be looked into as to why these people are here and how we get them out of town. And we've had the same problem at church, Trinity Episcopal Church, but what we've been doing, the priest himself has been cutting down all the shrubbery and everything, so there's no place for him to hide. So he's addressing the problem in his own way, although he's gotten good response from the police department when he calls them. So, but there's just that kind of thing. You have it in, if you read the papers a lot, you have it big time in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Seattle, Washington, areas like that in the country. It's unacceptable, and it needs to be cleaned up here in Elkton.
May I address that?
Yes, go ahead.
I just returned from a tattoo convention out in New Mexico, like we were saying. And I do this once or twice a year, and I meet up with artists from all over the country, from big towns, from small towns. We all talk, we all have the same problems. It's a very difficult problem. You know, we tried to address it when I was with the Elkton Alliance. We try to address it constantly, the police force tries. It's a very difficult problem. We are doing our best, but it's not just Elkton, and it's not just the big cities. Unfortunately, it's everywhere, but we will continue to work on that, Mr. Lemon.
I'd say it's very important. They just, there was going to be a big convention in Los Angeles, which was canceled and moved somewhere else because they didn't want their convention goers to walk around and step in shit and everything on the sidewalk. And that's what you have. And you have people laying around, they're defecating on the streets and this and that. Now that's out there. I'm not saying that's here, I don't know. But I'm just saying it's a problem that needs to be addressed, and I know you will address it. I'm not concerned about it, but this gentleman has, I don't have that issue where I live, but that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Reference to this. How, this house, because I'm not talking about the homeless, I want to know about the house. If anybody can tell me how long it's been empty and why is it empty?
It's been 5 or 6 years, probably it's been empty. They've had people that were put in as renters and then got evicted. Some of them had drug problems. There was an issue with sewage backing up in one side of the house in the basement, I recall that. There was an issue with, if you walked in the house, that there were fleas in the house, you know, like on cats and dogs, those kinds of fleas. The house is, I would venture to say it's unsafe. There was, until this morning, I happened to look up a notice up on the second floor, there was a window that was open for more than a year because I brought it up in the planning commission meeting. I believe there's still one on the side that's open. So if someone's going and closing it back up again, I don't know who it is. It's boarded up on the front door, but, you know, anyone with a will to get in can get in.
Did you mention you had an address on that, Mr. Forsythe?
I don't have a house number, but it's an even number. You know, I live in 115, which is odd numbers side of the street, so I'm guessing it's like 117 or something like that.
It's the old house, right?
Big doll house.
Yes,
Yeah.
duplex.
Dr. Shu is in Japan, so she's not around here anywhere. I believe she used to have a daughter who's a doctor who lives in Chicago. So maybe that daughter owns a house, I don't know.
We'll find out.
But-
Michelle, can you get us tax records? I'm sure Jeff Holder's been on it, and it's probably
Yeah,
in a
that's-
tax sale.
What I'm wondering, what's the status of that house, and why is it unoccupied, besides the fact that it's.
Get all that information for the board.
Well,
Thank
something
you.
that I've never heard of, but you could do public, eminent domain for public safety. I have not heard of that, but that's why, I don't know why you couldn't do that. Take over the place, get rid of it, or fix it up and rent it to somebody. Take it over and get rid of it. We
Very
should be
good.
able to do that.
Any other comments from the audience? Before we close the meeting, I need a motion for about a 5-minute closed meeting to consider a matter that concerns a proposal for a business or industrial organization to locate, expand, or remain in the state.
So moved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Any discussion on the closed meeting?
7 minutes.
7 minutes would be about what it'll be. All in favor?
Aye.
And we will not reconvene. Thank you.